Hey everybody, Ralph Havens here, autoimmuneanswers.com. And I thought this video session was going to go one way. I am super excited about what's coming up this week for me and for my family and for all of us, for you guys. I'm heading to Santa Fe tomorrow to see an old friend, a teacher that I started with many years ago, and I want to tell you a little bit about it. And as I was doing my morning meditation and getting ready to shoot the video, all of a sudden something just came up. And, you know, some things work better than other things. And there's a place probably for pretty much everything, I would think, you know, different types of healing and different types of modalities and techniques and methods. And there's the medical system, the traditional medical system. There's the traditional Chinese medicine system with the healing Qigong and Tai Chi and acupuncture. And then there's the herbs and the homeopathy, and there's positive thinking and prayer. And there's all sorts of stuff, right? And what came up as I was getting ready to tell you all about what's coming up with my teacher as I go into Santa Fe, hang out with Ming Tong Gu and the Chi Center, chicenter.com, and really big healing session with certification for advanced Qigong practitioners. And it's a session for healers and all sorts of different people coming together to do wisdom healing Qigong. And Ming Tong's going to be showing us something that he's been playing with called pure consciousness. So, you know, if you know me with my videos, I'm always looking for faster, better, bigger results. And the key, of course, is here's somebody with an issue, and whatever you do or whatever the person does, or the exercises or the treatment or the interventions, what's the result, right? And so as it came up this morning, I thought about another old friend of mine who's no longer with us. And she came in as a client many years ago in San Diego, referred by a doctor who didn't know what I did, but liked the results and would just tell people, just go and just go do this. And he told her that because she was dealing with a thing. She had a problem with her lungs, and it was the result of I won't go too much into detail, but the medical system had done some stuff to her, or she had a reaction from vaccines, actually. And now it was like 40 years later, but she had dealing really well with it and doing really well with all sorts of stuff. But now she had a problem with her lungs. So they were considering some interventions, medical interventions. But this doctor, who later became my friend, also had told her, just go see Ralph and just go. And so we worked on her, and then she didn't have to have those interventions, and she did really well, and all sorts of stuff. We got to know her very well, and treat her for quite a while, doing lots of really cool stuff and helping her out a lot. And then as Jen and I transitioned, and we were getting ready we were shutting down our office in San Diego and going to a cash-based system. So we weren't billing insurances anymore. And we're getting ready to move up to the Pacific Northwest. I got a message from her, and I didn't get back to it very soon. And I got a message, I think, from my therapist who worked with me, who was working with her. And but I was like busy, and I thought, I'll get back to her. And then a few weeks later, I heard that she had passed away. And I was like, what happened? And so you know, how do you even talk about something like this? Who's to say? Everybody has a choice, right? And there's different ways to go. And if you draw out the timeline long enough, we're all going to pass away. So that's not the question. Like, are you going to save somebody from dying? We're all going to be there at some point, right? But the question is, how do you want to live? And so she got a diagnosis, you know, one of those not so good diagnoses that can put a lot of fear into you. And she was reaching out, you know, to me, and I didn't get back to her in time. And she reached out to the medical profession, and they did an intervention, and she was dead a few days later. Now, I'm not saying all medical intervention is bad. You know, we've had stuff for ourselves, and And there's times for everything, I would think. But I was like, it all came up this morning. And as I was getting ready to tell you all about my trip to Santa Fe and Qigong and healing stuff, because what I've noticed is the most important thing for me is what's the result? What's the result, right? Whatever you do in the middle, the treatment, the exercise, the mindfulness, the interventions, the medical system or the alternative medical system, if you've got yourself here and you've got an issue, what's the result? What's the result? And so I remember once Ming Tong came and did a session, and they live streamed it from my office in San Diego, and there was probably 60 or more people crammed into this little office, this 1,200 square foot office, and we were overflowing, and he was doing it, and we were just awesome, and it was just felt great. And there was one woman there who had a really terrible diagnosis, one of those really bad ones, and her friends got her a week or so, might have been a couple of weeks, of an intensive Qigong session when Ming Tong was up in Petaluma, Northern California. So she went up there, and Ming Tong, from the story that I heard from the different practitioners and from her, was that actually not from her, but from her friends and stuff, was that Ming Tong told her she didn't have that diagnosis anymore. I mean, what a thing to say, right? And that this is how it was going to change. And so she came back to San Diego. Long story short, it was gone, and the doctors couldn't find it. And so what is that? And of course, you have a choice what to use. It's like, I'm not saying don't use the medical system. Go talk to your doctor, just like they say. Get the information you want, and then informed medical consent is such a hallmark of our system. So then after all your informed information from your medical doctor and from anyone else you want to talk with, of course it's your right, it's your body, right? So I'm heading up to Santa Fe to get really deep into the pure consciousness of Ming Tong Gu and QiCenter.com, and I do Qigong every day. And when I was doing my wall squats yesterday, Ben, who hasn't been doing wall squats, he's just a kid running around doing crazy stuff, cool stuff, he instantly did a perfect wall squat. And if you know the wall squat, it's not an easy technique or form or method exercise to do, but he did it perfectly. So I filmed it and sent it to Ming Tong because it was just so cool. And I think we all have a lot of wisdom in our bodies as kids, and we want to keep tuning into that, is my belief. And whenever we intervene with any kind of treatment, it's cool to see what's the result, right? And as I've been looking at the medical system lately, it's like there was a hallmark year. I forgot which agency of the United States was called upon to find out why is there such a rise in autoimmune and all these different conditions and diseases, and the kids especially. And they found that there was a hallmark year, 1989, that if you were born before 1989, you had a 12% chance of having an autoimmune condition or a neurological condition. Severe conditions, right? If you were born after 1989, this is in our own PubMed, this is peer-reviewed research. This is like medical stuff talking about this. Our own government agencies finding out what happened. And they said in 1989, if you were born after that, there's a 54% chance that you'll have an autoimmune condition or a neurological condition. And as you know, autism is like up to like 1 in 36 kids. I think there's some people that say 1 in 50 and others that say 1 in 26. And so different studies, medical studies, peer-reviewed medical studies in PubMed are saying numbers like that, when it used to be 1 in 10,000. And so what is going on? So when I think of what to do to somebody, with somebody, to teach somebody or help somebody, the most important thing is, like, if somebody's here and they've got something going on, after the intervention, whatever is done or whatever the person does, what's the result, right? So my sister used to ask me, why do you work so hard, Ralph? Why do you keep doing so much stuff? And I think it's part of this, like there's got to be informed medical consent. And if everybody can just, nobody's going to make it out of this world alive physically. So the question is, how do you want to live, right? And so Jen and I have decided that we want to go with the internal wisdom of our bodies, of God, of the internal miracle of life. And it's okay. Of course, it's okay if anybody does whatever else they want to do, the medical system, and we've used the medical system. But I remember when Ben was in the hospital the first week of life and we weren't sure what was going on and our midwives told us to go, he had a funny little coffee gaspy thing, and they were running all these tests and they could find nothing wrong with him, nothing. And they try to grow cultures. Does he have an infection? Nothing. He looks good. 2 or 3 days, but he keeps like regurgitating up and having this thing. And this doctor that I'd never met before came into the room in the ICU and said, the nurse was there too, and said, your son's going to be fine. He's going to make it. He's going to be great. We just want to do a round of antibiotics. And I remember saying to the nurse, I said, do you hear that? I forgot her name. He's going to be fine. And she wouldn't even look at me. And I got one of those dings in my head, like, that's weird. She knows me, she talks to me, she's friendly, and she won't even look me in the eye. And I told the doctor, yeah, go ahead, that's awesome. Let's just do the antibiotics, no big deal, antibiotics for a week. And now, there's always, you think about stuff, right? The past, what you should have done. And I just wonder, what would it have been like if I would have said, you know what, let me think about it for a few hours. And I would have called my midwife, and I would have called my teachers, Sharon and Tom Giammatteo, and if I would have checked in with my own heart, and I would have talked to a few nurses and maybe done a little research and just asked stuff. Maybe I would have said, hey, let's wait one more day and just see what happened. Because we waited, after a day of antibiotics, he wasn't gasping anymore at all. Now, was it the antibiotics? I don't know. Could it have been an extra day and he would have been fine and we would have been out of there? I don't know. And it might have been cool. It would have been good to get a little more information, but I was in such fear. And so we spent I think it was about 10 days in the hospital. It was so stressful. And we wanted to just go home. And at one point, they were having a real hard time finding veins in Ben. They were putting them in his head and everywhere. And he was such an amazing guy. Later, we asked him, how did you do that, Ben? Like a few years ago, we said, how did you do that? You didn't cry? He said, I went back to where I was, like before he was born, and hung out there. But to this day, he doesn't like blood or people getting hurt. And so I think about that sometimes. And on the last day that we were there, we had a couple more days that they wanted to do antibiotics. And we're like, can we just go home? He's fine. Can we just go home? And this doctor, MD, and another doctor, MD, PhD, were there. And they had all of a sudden had this big smile on their faces and like, we know we can do. If we give him this one more shot, they want to give him 2, we'll do it. You can go home. And we're like, okay, let's do it. And he was sleeping in Jen's arms, and they gave him a shot, and he screamed out in such terror and pain. And then he went limp, gone, limp. And he sat there, laid in Jen's arms for about 5 minutes. And they wanted to give him another shot. The funny thing is, I didn't ever ask what that shot was. I didn't ask, why would you do another shot? Why is that shot the thing that then could let us go home? Now I know to ask a lot more questions. And so Jen then said, we're not doing another shot. We're going home now. And Ben came back and thank God, right? And so I think one of the reasons I do so much of this and put myself out there, and people shoot arrows at my back, we talk about the vaccines and the horrific studies that were done to get vaccines in place. If you really do the research and look, it's horrific. And these doctors that say nobody's looking at the science if you're anti-vax, they won't debate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. or Del Bigtree we've even reached out and said to some of the journalists that are saying stuff like that, hey, debate us, debate me. I'll talk about the science. And they won't. And so I think what I'm up to and what Jen and I are up to and why we work so hard and why we do these videos is there's got to be a choice. And there always has been up to this point. But right now we're under a lot of attack where they want to take away our choice for stuff like vaccines and what we do to our kids and who gets to decide, the parents or the state. And so, you know, I just want a choice. And I work really hard with the energy workers and the different healers, and because I believe that people's bodies and beings and God have an infinite wisdom. And that's what we go with. So I'd love to hear what you think. You know, I'm polarizing. Not everybody likes me. But if this resonates with you, let me know. If it doesn't, let me know. And for everybody, I say it again and again, let's get out there and live. Let's really live. And I hear everybody getting up in the morning. So I'm going to get out of here, and I'm going to be in Santa Fe tomorrow, and hopefully still doing some videos for you. We're going to be doing Qigong from 7 in the morning till 9 at night. And I'll see you all soon. All right.